Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in this video today, we are going to be talking about renter-friendly upgrades. These are those things that I think as renters, you can do that really elevate your space, make it a lot more interesting, looks more expensive, and more importantly, makes it feel really your own. Before I get to those renter-friendly upgrades, I first wanted to talk about today's sponsor, which is AG1 by Athletic Greens, which is a nutritional drink that has about 75 different ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, superfoods, adaptogens, probiotics, and it has really helped me simplify my morning routine. So to me, AG1 really helps me get the full nutrition that I need for recovery and immunity, because some people always say things like, you know, why don't you just eat more fruits and vegetables? And to which I just say, like, I just don't. Like, I'm sorry, you know, I admit it. Sometimes I just don't eat enough salads, and I'm sorry, but here we are. AG1 by Athletic Greens just really helps me supplement my diet so that I just get all my bases covered. It also mixes really well and actually tastes quite good. I mean, it has like a slight sort of berry flavor, which I actually really kind of like. And you know, like, let's be real, like, it's not a mimosa, I'm not gonna lie to you, but for the nutrition that you're getting, it tastes way better than I expected. So go to athleticgreens.com/NickLewis to get started for your first purchase and receive a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 travel packs. Thanks to Athletic Greens for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to those renter-friendly upgrades. Okay, so my first upgrade I wanna talk about is things like wall moldings. And before I get into this, so first of all, yes, I have wall moldings in this place. Now I have actually done these by taking moldings and nailed them actually into the space, and they use a little sort of caulking glue on the side and then painting it out white. That's how these ones are done, okay? But when you're a renter, that's probably not going to work. However, I have recently seen that, I wish I did this in my space, honestly, you guys, but I've seen other people that are able to take really light moldings, and you can take these moldings and you can measure them out. You can then sort of miter the corners so that they really make a beautiful picture molding for your wall. And then instead of sort of nailing them in and sort of using the caulking glue and all the rest of it, which probably your landlord's not gonna be a big fan of, using things like mounting tape to be able to actually mount the moldings on the wall. Now, it might not necessarily be able to get you kind of that really clean finish that you're looking for, but it can do a really, really good job to sort of mount those moldings onto the wall. But it is going to be done in a way, this is kind of my hot tip to make sure your landlord doesn't get upset, that you're able to actually be able to remove them when you go to leave the space. So if you've moved into the space and you really plan on being there for a while, I would really consider things like wall moldings as a really great way to sort of create texture and dimension onto a wall, but being able to do it in a way that is renter friendly because you're able to remove it when you go to leave the space. Also, if you do go this route and you do have these wall moldings, consider painting them out. And again, I'm gonna get to paint in a second here, but there's this kind of misconception, I think, that like landlords absolutely hate you painting and that you can never paint in a rental. That may be true, but it's always worth having a conversation with your landlord, because landlords, especially hopefully ones that are kind of reasonable people, will understand that you're improving the space and that you're making it your own, which means you're a lot more likely to be a long-term tenant and stay in that space and pay your rent for a very long time, which is ultimately really what they want. So I would really encourage you to have that conversation. And if you are gonna put these sort of temporary moldings up, I would consider also painting those moldings to be the same color as the wall behind. And again, if you moved in and you've got all white walls, it's not a big deal to just continue to just paint the walls white again, because you're really just painting out those moldings to be the exact color of the wall behind it, which is gonna give it a really beautiful tailored look, and it's definitely gonna make your space stand out. And again, another option that you might wanna consider is things like I've got here. If you've fallen in love with these wall slat walls, and a lot of these walls that you've seen are literally pieces of MDF or perhaps even solid wood that have then been nailed onto a wall, but there's other options like this. Again, this is a little bit more of an advanced rental upgrade, but worth considering. They come with these foam back panels. This one here is from a company called AndorWillow here in Canada. But what you can do is then you can screw these into the wall, which I know is a little bit more advanced, I'm gonna be honest, but you take these big wood panels, you screw them into the wall, but when you go to leave, you can just unscrew them and then just putty over them. So if your landlord's okay with that, that can be a great way to use these panels on, say, like an entryway and really get that beautiful kind of designer look that you might be looking for. But again, you can remove it at the end and just putty over those little holes, and you know, your landlord might be okay with that. Okay, and then my next rental friendly upgrade is going to be paint and stick-on wallpaper. So first of all, even if you're owning, by the way, wallpaper itself is kind of a nightmare sometimes to take off, especially if it's really been on for many, many years, because the glue gets old and it becomes really difficult to remove. So stick-on wallpaper, even for owners, renters, whatever, cover is like always a good idea. It's like so much easier to be able to take off than regular glued on wallpaper. But I'm also gonna put paint in this category because, like I just said, if you have a conversation with your landlord and you are interested in painting your wall, a lot of landlords will actually be really open to the idea. It really just sort of depends on the landlord that you're working with. Also, by the way, if you're just moving into a space and you haven't actually taken over the lease yet, have that conversation now, because before you take the space, depending on your rental market, this is when you have the most power in that relationship. So it's really good at this moment to have that relationship and just ask if it's okay if you paint the walls. I would avoid saying that you're gonna paint them like charcoal or black or like navy like I've got back there. They might not be as okay with that, but I think if you plan on painting it a light color or white, most landlords are gonna be fine with it. And it's really honestly a really great way to make a space your own, add more personality, and a space always looks better with a fresh coat of paint. And again, you've got that stick-on wallpaper, so you've really got a great way for you to add some dimension, add some personality, and add some pattern onto your walls to make them a lot more interesting. I usually find in rentals, the walls, this is why I've kind of harped on this, the first two bullets, because the walls are sometimes the trickiest parts for rental properties, because everybody just seems to have these basic white walls and then they throw a bunch of furniture in, and that's really your typical rental look. But there are things you can do with a rental to make it your own and give it a lot more personality by just being creative with the wall treatments that you're using. Okay, rental upgrade number 3 would be changing out your metal, specifically looking at things like cabinet hardware, things like faucets, accessories. I would really take a look at those bathrooms and the kitchen, see what you're working with, right? Because if these are really tired and really dated, it doesn't matter if you buy the most beautiful furniture ever, if you go to West Elm or you go to Crate and Barrel or whatever and you buy some really gorgeous new furniture, that can all be amazing. But if you've got these really tired faucets and accessories and all these sort of different metals that you've got in your space, it's always going to be really difficult to pull off the space that you're hoping to. So I would really consider changing those out. But here's the thing, keep those old things and keep them and shove them in a closet somewhere, because when you go to leave this space in like 2, 3, 4 years, you can go back and swap those out again because you paid for those, right? That's not the landlord's new faucet, that's your new faucet. You want to keep the old faucet and always just, again, shove it in that closet, swap them out when you leave in a few years, and you can really enjoy those faucets and accessories and metals for the time that you live there, and then you can take those to the next place. So if you choose to rent again or own, you can always bring those to the next space, and if it doesn't work in the next space, you might be able just to sell them on Facebook Marketplace or something, and you can sort of get your money back. But I think it's so worth it to spend that money on those quick changes that you can do that are not that difficult to do and really benefit from them for the time that you're in the rental. Again, if you're gonna be here for a few years, really take the time to make that space your own. Metals is a big part of that. And also building on that, next rental friendly upgrade is lighting. This also applies to lighting as well. Same rules apply. Those metals can be really tired, and those boob lights and those really nasty lights that have been there since the 80s, those are not gonna really help your space if you've got some really gorgeous, beautiful furniture, but you've got the boob light sitting in the center of the room. This beautiful furniture is not gonna save you. The boob light's still going to be there, but it doesn't have to be. You can absolutely take those lighting fixtures down, you can put them in the closet next to that old tired faucet, and you can just save them for the few years when down the road when you're going to move again, and you can swap those back out. There's some gorgeous flush mount lighting treatments that you can use that are going to make a huge, huge difference to the space. And again, swap them out, swap them back again, because the landlord didn't pay for that lighting, you did. So that's going to be a really great way to make your space look a lot more beautiful. Okay, next upgrade for renters that I want to talk about is either investing in really high quality art or making it yourself. So art is one of those things that really adds a lot of personality to your space, and it really makes your space uniquely your own and really beautiful. And the great news about art in a rental is you absolutely can hang it up on the walls. You just remember to putty in those little holes when you go to leave, and you can have this beautiful art and you can take it with you to your next space. Art is usually, especially if it's in your style, if you're really understanding and coming into your own and really looking at your own design style, and you're starting to kind of, you know, I've got loads of videos on it if you don't know your own design style, really investing in art that sort of works with your own personal unique style, that absolutely can come with you from place to place to place. And I have art that I have had for many years that travels with me from every apartment that I have owned, and I love it as much today as I did all those years ago. So definitely investing in that quality art is going to make a really big difference. Also, if you don't want to invest in that quality art because it's just too expensive, because art tends to sometimes get really expensive, rather than going for some really sort of generic big box art, or like, heaven forbid, the Vilschalt Amsterdam picture from IKEA that we've all seen 5 billion times, consider investing in your own art. art. I've got some great options that I have talked about on this channel. I even did kind of a DIY plaster art. Well, I didn't do it because I don't do DIYs, but other people did amazing DIY plaster art that you could go take a look. It's really affordable, it doesn't take a whole lot of skill to do, and you can really invest in some beautiful art that you can even make yourself. There's lots of other tutorials on YouTube, people that can tell you how to make your own abstract art, whatever. You can make your own and really make your space look beautiful. By the way, also another advantage of making it yourself, you're able to really coordinate the color scheme with all the rest of your other furniture and maybe even those wall treatments or the paint or whatever that we've just talked about in this video. So you're able to kind of make the art match the rest of your decor so you can really make for a really beautiful cohesive space, especially when it comes to really defining that color palette. So making your own art is always a great option, and also investing in really good quality art as well that you really love and is truly timeless. Those are great ways to upgrade your rental space because again, they go right with you to the next space. Okay, and then next up is to invest in amazing or beautiful window treatments. So usually when landlords put in window treatments or like different blinds or whatever in their space, they are usually quite tragic. We're talking about those really like papery thin sort of shades that they have that are like flimsy and they're just massive dust collectors. You all know what I'm talking about. All those really old sort of plastic ones that are just really, really gross. And again, they just collect dust and honestly, they're just like, no. So yes, I would consider taking those down, shoving it in that old closet that we just talked about that's got the faucet and that boob light. And we're taking down all those old window treatments and you're putting up really beautiful window treatments that are going to be gorgeous and timeless and will stay with you forever. IKEA is my personal go-to recommendation for gorgeous window treatments. They've got really beautiful ones there that are not that expensive, and it's gonna look a lot more beautiful when you put in sort of some velvet drapery panels as opposed to using those really gross paper shades or plastic shades or whatever that the landlord threw in. So I would absolutely consider upgrading your window treatments. Not that difficult to do, and it is going to make a massive difference. And again, when you're done, you take those window treatments down, you put those old dust collectors back up, and they become your landlord problems when you go to leave. So I hope these tips have really helped you guys sort of create a really beautiful, cohesive space, because all the rules of design still apply to a rental. Building a beautiful, cohesive space that's uniquely your own in the design style and the color palette that really speaks to you is going to make a huge difference to making you feel comfortable in the home that you live in. So thank you all. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks. Bye.